Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Please accept mine, Leela Bhaji. Hare Krishna. Can you
Hare
see me and
Krishna.
hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So we are on YouTube and the recording has started. So we can get started with the festival. And this is my honor to invite Danakeli Mataji to speak on this auspicious occasion of Lord Nrsimhadeva's appearance day. And all of us who are here in Chicago, most of us have a special place for Danakeli Mataji and Pratishawa Prabhu, who they have served here at Kishore Kishori's temple for many years. And it's a great privilege to have you back on this occasion. It's a virtual celebration.
Yes, I'm sorry it has to be virtual.
Yes. Yeah. So Danakeli Mataji, you can get started. We have about an hour, but based on how we feel, like we can wrap it up earlier or a few minutes later, whichever works. Thank you for being here. My privilege to have you.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm actually here at New Talavan Farm in southern Mississippi, and I'm skipping the evening class here to do this class with you. So it's my privilege. I'm sorry that it has to be virtual rather than in person. Mm-hmm. Do we just start right away with class? Anything else?
You can right away start with the class.
Yeah. Okay. So today is the very auspicious day of the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadeva. Throughout the year, we actually celebrate many appearances of the Lord in this world. You know, many traditions have their holidays where they celebrate something important. And we celebrate many times throughout the year actual appearances of the Lord in this world. And each and every one of them has a special significance or lesson or something that is really illustrated. Like, why does the Lord appear numerous times? Why not just one appearance and we'll have our, once a year celebration? So each time Sri Bhagavan appears in this world, it is for a particular reason or mission, and a certain aspect of the Lord or quality of the Lord is highlighted. For example, Krishna Janmashtami, the appearance of Krishna. In that appearance, Krishna is showing off his Vrindavan pastimes. And the purpose of his coming to do so is to attract the mind of conditioned souls to the very, very sweet and beautiful Vrindavan Leela that Krishna performs with his very, very intimate devotees. So that's Krishna's appearance about 5,000 years ago. It has the purpose to show off the pinnacle of the Lord's qualities and loving propensity by highlighting the sweetness of Vrindavan and the Vraja Bhaktas. Lord Ramachandra, he appears in this world, and his appearance is to showcase Dharma and to exemplify what an actual qualified leader looks like, how the behavior of a qualified leader is to be. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appeared only 500 years ago. And his appearance was to demonstrate and practice, put into practice in front of our own eyes, the Lord's highest pinnacle of mercy, to deliver fallen souls like no other appearance of the Lord, no other incarnation of the Lord ever did before, to deliver the fallen souls from the clutches of birth and death, and to bestow upon them what no other incarnation, not even Krishna himself, ever bestowed upon living entities, and that is the highest benediction of Vraj Prema. So every appearance of the Lord has a particular quality or purpose of the Lord which is highlighted. So today's celebration is the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadeva, we know, and it's to highlight a particular quality of Sri Bhagavan. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 31, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna makes a declaration to Arjuna. And he asks Arjuna to broadcast this declaration to the world. So he says to Arjuna, Konteya pratijanihi na me bhakta pranashyati. My dear Arjuna, you please declare to the world that my devotee never perishes. So today's appearance of Lord Nrsimhadeva actually highlights this statement found in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna promises, Name Bhakta Pranashyati. But, do we have faith in that statement? So this Leela, the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadeva to slay the demon Hiranyakashipu, to protect the devotee Prahlad Maharaj, is a beautiful illustration to prove that Krishna's statement that my devotee never perishes is true. So we'll do a little overview of this Leela, and then we will conclude with understanding a little more clearly what this statement, Name Bhakta Pranashyati, actually means. So, once upon a time, there was a big demon of the name Hiranyakashipu. And as we see in this world, it's been going on forever, not just on Earth, but even in the upper, heavenly planets. There is always a competition between the devas, the demigods or suras, the devas, and the ungodly or demoniac or asuras. They always, somehow or other, they get into scuffles, and they're always competing with each other, trying to defeat each other. So sometimes the devas come out victorious. Sometimes the asuras come out victorious, which then makes us wonder, well, what about the statement that my devotee never perishes? They're never defeated. We do see that the demigods are sometimes defeated by the asuras. So one day, the demigods did defeat the asuras, and the big asura, Hiranyakashipu, was very, very upset. And he was also upset because the Lord in a previous episode had killed Hiranyakashipu's brother, Hiranyaksha. So Hiranyakashipu has two missions, if you will. He wants to head up the Asuras and to conquer Indra and the Devas. And ultimately, he wants to kill Lord Vishnu. So Hiranyakashipu decides that in order to accomplish this, I have to perform great austerities, because from austerity comes power. Even if you're a demon, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a demon or a demigod. The performance of austerity empowers one. So Hiranyakashipu went away to perform 100 years of great austerity, 100 years by heavenly calculation. Meanwhile, his wife, Kayadu, was at home pregnant. Indra and the demigods understood that Kayadu is pregnant. That means she's bearing the son of this big demon. And that son is definitely going to be a demon himself. So what we want to do is go and capture Kayadu and eliminate her child. So they went and captured Kayadu, and on their way, they were dragging her away, and on their way, they happened to cross paths with Narada Muni. And when Narada Muni asked, "Why are you dragging this woman away?" they explained what the problem was, that she's bearing the son of a demon. Narada Muni said, no, you've got it all wrong. In her womb is actually a great devotee. And, you know, he's on your side. He's a deva. He's a great devotee. There is no need to try to kill this child. So the devas were very happy. They begged forgiveness from Kayadu. They circumambulated her because she had this great devotee in her womb. And Narada said, I will take her to my ashram and give her shelter there until her husband returns, because he was going to be gone for a really long time performing his austerities. While Kayadu was in the ashram, she got to hear Bhagavat Katha from Narada Muni, which means the child in the womb also heard. But she also was in anxiety. She was in anxiety that, you know, I had a threat there. I almost lost my child. So she was in anxiety that could happen again. Somebody might want to try to kill my child. So Narada Muni, understanding her anxiety, promised her that your child will never meet with defeat from any kind of enemy. So that pacified her mind, and she sat in Narada Muni's ashram waiting for her husband to return. Meanwhile, Hiranyakashipu is performing amazing austerities, which we've all heard of. And at the end of while performing such great austerities, half of his body was eaten away by ants. He basically, anybody who saw him would have said he was dead. Somehow or other, he was keeping his life going in his bones. So Lord Brahma understood that this person wants something from me, and I cannot stand seeing this fantastic austerity that he's performing. So he immediately came, appeared before Hiranyakashipu and said, just, what do you want? Stop that austerity business and just ask me for whatever benediction you want. I promise to give it to you. And when Hiranyakashipu asked for his benediction, which was, please make me immortal, Lord Brahma had to apologize that, oh, I actually can't do that because I'm a mortal being myself. I cannot benedict you with something that I myself lack. So, as we know, Hiranyakashipu, being very clever, tried to circumvent that little problem by asking for the benediction not to be killed indoors or outdoors, not to be killed in the daytime or the nighttime, not to be killed by a man or a beast, not to be killed by any weapon, not to be killed on the earth or in the sky or in the water. And in this way, he covered all the bases, as they say, and was confident that now that Brahma's promised yes, 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 yes to all his conditions, that now he virtually is immortal. So Hiranyakashipu returns to his ashram. His son Prahlad takes birth. Hiranyakashipu rules the universe in a very heavy-handed manner. He conquered the demigods, sat on Indra's throne, just kicked them all out of the palace, you know, like, you're no longer in charge, I am. And Hiranyakashipu virtually took over the universe, sat on Indra's throne, and he had everybody, whether Sura or Asura, he had everybody fearful of him and just being like, yes, sir, and no matter what he said, they would execute his order for fear of death otherwise. Hiranyakashipu was so stuck on this point that he wanted to kill Vishnu. So one day, Prahlad was old enough to go to school. He was 5 years old and he started attending the Gurukula. And one day he came home from school and Hiranyakashipu, as a normal father, asked him, what's the best thing that you've learned in school? And Prahlad proceeded to recite that famous verse, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam, right? And he glorified the 9 processes of devotional service to Vishnu. So this obviously made Hiranyakashipu more than furious. He wanted to know, where did you learn this? Who has contaminated you with this awful knowledge? Why are you speaking in favorable ways about my enemy Vishnu? You know, if you're a friend of my enemy, then you're my enemy also. So one thing led to another. Hiranyakashipu chastised the teachers of Prahlad. He chastised Prahlad. He threatened the teachers. They promised that they were not teaching him such, you know, things about devotional service. They promised that nobody was sneaking into the classroom and teaching him. They were bewildered how he knew all this. Hiranyakashipu became convinced that Prahlad is my enemy because he's a friend, he's devoted to Vishnu. So he tried in many ways to kill Prahlad, from throwing him off a mountaintop, putting him in a den with very, very, very poisonous snakes, to putting him in a fire, to trying to drown him, to having big, big elephants stampede him to death, trying to poison him. He had his demonic servants try to stab him to death with their tridents. Nothing could even put a little scratch on Prahlad, because no matter what came his way, Prahlad would just sit with folded hands. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So you can imagine, after so many attempts at killing Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu was like at the end of his rope. And he no longer could look at his son with even a tinge of love, without any tinge of fatherly affection. He was just fed up. So he expressed his anger to Prahlad. Where do you get your power to like withstand all this torture? Why don't you die? I'm trying to kill you and you won't die. And Prahlad ultimately said, well, I just meditate on my sweet Lord and he protects me. He's always here to protect me. And Hiranyakashipu said, what do you mean he's here to protect you? Where is your Lord Vishnu? Show him to me, because, then he could kill him, right? So where is your Lord Vishnu? And Prahlad said, oh, he is everywhere. He is all pervading. He's everywhere? Yeah, he's everywhere, without exception. And Hiranyakashipu said, oh yeah, sure. Like, is he in this pillar over here? And Prahlad, oh yes, Father. My Lord is standing there in the pillar. And Hiranyakashipu said, oh, let me see that. And he took up his sword and he smashed the pillar with his sword. And as we know, out came the very, very angry, on fire, large form of half man, half lion, known as Nrsimhadeva. And after playing with Hiranyakashipu for some time, he let Hiranyakashipu, try to hit him with his sword. Hiranyakashipu looked like a little insect compared to Lord Nrsimhadeva. But Hiranyakashipu had his shield and he had his sword, and he really, really thought, I'm going to slay this beast. And he let Hiranyakashipu play with him, fight with him. And after some time, he then said, okay, your time's up. And he picked up Hiranyakashipu, placed him on his lap, and with his long nails, he ripped open the torso of the abdomen of Hiranyakashipu, causing his immediate death. Quite a ghastly scene. And then he turned to Hiranyakashipu's military. There were thousands of soldiers with weapons and shields who then came forward to slay Lord Nrsimhadeva. And with his sharp nails, he just decapitated them. And they all died. And there was not just a river of blood, there was an ocean of blood in that spot. A very, very ghastly scene. You can just imagine. None of us would be able to look at that. But despite this very horrendous, ghastly scene, 5-year-old Prahlad was just standing there very peacefully. He just watched with his own 2 eyes his father get killed. And he saw, with love, he looked upon Lord Nrsimhadeva, and he could see that my Lord is very angry. And although many demigods appeared and tried to cool the Lord down by offering their own prayers and words of, glorification, Nrsimhadeva could not be pacified. So Prahlad was pushed forward. Now you go pacify. You're the one that called him here. It's because of you he's here. Like, why don't you go try to pacify him? So little Prahlad went up and stood at the feet of Lord Nrsimhadeva, and he started to offer very heartfelt words of glorification. If you go to Canto 7 of Srimad Bhagavatam, to the 9th chapter, that entire chapter, which is 50 some verses, that entire chapter is Prahlad's prayers to Nrsimhadeva, one after another, after all. I mean, it's hard to point out this one's the best prayer in the chapter. All beautiful, realized glorifications of the Lord and prayers of submission. Prahlad poses himself as just some kind of unqualified, almost like materialist. Many, many beautiful prayers by Prahlad in that chapter. Srila Prabhupada said, when devotees asked him about how to pray, Prabhupada said, you can just memorize, if you can't like compose your own prayer, you can just memorize the prayers of these great devotees found in Srimad Bhagavatam and recite those prayers. And of all the prayers that Prabhupada would quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the prayers of Prahlad are the ones he most quoted. They're so pregnant with realization and a perfect mood of a pure devotee. So here Prahlad is praying to the Lord after witnessing his father get killed. And I wanted to look at two prayers that Prahlad offers out of the many beautiful prayers. Whoops. I want to go to chapter 9. And I want to go to text 41 and then another one. So here in text 41, while Prahlad's praying to the Lord, he's not only glorifying the Lord, he is glorifying the Lord, but in addition to glorifying the Lord, Prahlad expresses, he reveals his own level of Krishna consciousness. Without trying to pat himself on the back, of course, Prahlad reveals the real mood of a devotee who, because of this mood, can endear themselves to the Lord. So here in 7.9.41, Prahlad says, my dear Lord, you are always transcendentally situated on the other side of the river of death. But because of the reactions of our own activities, we are suffering on this side. Indeed, we have fallen into this river and are repeatedly suffering the pains of birth and death and eating horrible things. Now kindly look upon us, not only upon me, but also upon all others who are suffering. And by your causeless mercy and compassion, deliver us and maintain us. So here, Prahlad is revealing a mood which we need to try to imbibe. His mood is that he's not just going to the Lord and asking, oh, could you relieve me of my suffering? It's extremely common for persons to go to places of worship or just within their own homes to offer prayers because they're suffering. I need relief. Whether it's a physical problem, a financial problem, a marital problem, a psychological problem, whatever, social problem. The most common motive for persons to offer prayers is that the person wants relief from their suffering or their lacking. So it's actually a selfishly motivated approach to God. And when we do pray to be relieved from suffering, it's all about me. Please relieve me of my suffering. But here, Prahlad is not, he's saying, don't just look at me with mercy and compassion, but also look upon all others who are suffering. Please relieve all who are suffering. So this is the mood of an actual pure devotee. There's two types of devotees. There's the Bhajananandi, one who finds pleasure in doing their solitary bhajan. Then there's the Goshtiyanandi, one who finds pleasure in going out and spreading the message of Krishna consciousness to others, going out and giving others the similar opportunity to take shelter of Krishna, receive his blessings, receive his protection. So of the two devotees, obviously our Guru Parampara is in the mood of the Goshtiyanandis. Thus, Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement has manifested in this world, starting with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself and coming down through all the acharyas, that the Sankirtan movement is in this mood of, I don't want to just go back to Godhead, I want to take others with me. So this is one beautiful prayer that Prahlad offered. And I wanted to look at one more, actually text 43. Prahlad says, "O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. For wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them." This prayer very clearly shows the mood of our Guru Parampara, that there's no lamentation on the part of the devotee, but here he says, "Soche tato vimukha chetasa indriyartha maya sukhaya param udvahato vimudhan." I am lamenting. But why am I lamenting? Because I am overwhelmed with compassion and concern for those who are fools and rascals, bereft of Krishna consciousness, and simply running after temporary happiness in this world through sense gratification. So by thinking of them, I become very sad. So this is the mood of the devotee that attracts the mind of the Lord. So when Lord Nrsimhadeva received all these beautiful prayers from Prahlad, and when he was impressed with the consciousness of Prahlad, he said to Prahlad, "May you live a long life. And now, my dear devotee, I want you to ask me for a benediction. My whole existence is based on offering goodwill to my devotees. So please ask me for a benediction." So when that happens, when the Lord talks like that, Prahlad, in the very next chapter, he says to Krishna, to Lord Nrsimhadeva, "No, no, 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 no. Please don't entice me with a material benediction. That's a little dangerous. I don't want to be enticed with anything material." And he says, if I did take some benediction from you, then that would mean I am no better than a mundane merchant who distributes their goods in return for some payment. The merchant does not just distribute the goods freely, but it's expected that you are going to pay the merchant something in return for those goods. So Prahlad said, no, 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 no. I do not want to perform devotional service which has strings attached to it. I do not. Prahlad's service, he's exemplifying here this mood that his service is ohaitiki apratihata. It's unmotivated. It's not got strings attached. And it's not going to be interrupted if the Lord can't give him something in return. So Prahlad then says in text number 6 of the 10th chapter that, "Oh my Lord, I am your unmotivated servant, and you are my eternal master. There's no need of our being anything other than master and servant. You are naturally my master, and I am naturally your servant. We have no other relationship." In other words, that's it. You're the master, I'm the servant. I serve, and that's it. We're not like a merchant and customer pair. We're a master and servant pair. That's all I want. I just want to continue being your eternal servant. So then he says, "But, my Lord, O best of the givers of benediction, if you at all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, then I pray from your lordship that within the core of my heart there be no material desires." And why does he pray like that? Because when one has material desires in their heart, one can certainly still engage in devotional service. One does not have to wait to become free of all material desires in order to engage in devotional service. However, if there are material desires in the heart, it becomes probable that in the course of our devotional service, we will start asking the Lord either covertly or overtly, we will start hoping that the Lord fulfills those desires. We will approach the Lord in our devotional service carrying some ulterior motive, meaning any motive that is not wholly and solely to simply please Guru and Krishna. So Prahlad is very concerned that his bhakti may not be ananya bhakti, kevala bhakti, shuddha bhakti. He doesn't want his bhakti to become tainted or weakened. So he prays that there be no material desires in the core of his heart, which is a beautiful prayer for us to practice offering the Lord. So this pastime of the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev and his killing of Hiranyakashipu is certainly a Leela which gives us ample opportunity to glorify the Lord, his qualities, his behavior, his amazing, activities. However, even more important, if you will, this Leela actually highlights and puts the spotlight on the Lord's pure devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. And actually, the Lord is more pleased when we glorify his devotee in connection with him. So, although we are celebrating the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev in this world, this is a special day for meditating on the qualities and consciousness of Prahlad Maharaj. Prabhupada himself did so. He said, Prahlad Maharaj is our guru. Of all the verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad's prayers are the most quoted or most used by Prabhupada. He would point out Prahlad's mood more than any other devotee. So we started by saying that this Nrsimhadev's appearance was to highlight the Lord's statement in Bhagavad Gita that Na me bhakta pranashyati, my devotee never perishes. I want to conclude with a explanation or kind of insight as to what that actually means, Na me bhakta pranashyati. It does not only mean, it can mean, but it does not only mean that my devotee is never killed by an enemy. He never is defeated. We will illustrate what Na me bhakta pranashyati also means by asking 3 questions. So if any of you wish to try to answer those questions, we ask you to unmute yourself if you would like to offer, an answer. Otherwise, okay, so I'll ask 3 questions. So the first question is, why did Lord Vishnu appear as this particular specific form of Nrsimhadev, half man, half lion, as opposed to whatever other form he could have taken? What was his purpose in coming in that particular form? If anyone would like to say.
Hey Krishna, at this point, like if if you wish to start your videos also, that's welcome.
And if nobody wants to offer a proposed answer, the Lord appeared specifically as half man, half lion. Why? To keep the benediction that Lord Brahma gave to Hiranyakashipu intact. Na me bhakta pranashyati does not simply mean he protects his devotee from being killed or something, but he protects his devotee from having his words not prove true. The Lord wants his devotees' promises, benedictions, statements to be true, to come to fruition. So Brahma had promised Hiranyakashipu that you'll not be killed by a human or a deva or even an animal. You will not be killed by any weapon. So many promises. You will not be killed indoors or outdoors, etc., etc. So the Lord is more clever than Hiranyakashipu. So the Lord took this particular form of Nrsimhadeva, half man, half lion with long nails, because this way Brahma was correct. Hiranyakashipu was not killed by a human or a deva or an animal. He was not killed by any weapons. He was killed by nails. He was not killed indoors or outdoors. He was killed in the threshold of the palace. He was not killed in the daytime or the nighttime. He was killed at dusk, in between. He was not killed on the earth or in the air or on water. He was killed on the lap of Lord Nrsimhadeva. So like this Leela illustrates Name Bhakta Pranashyati, that my devotee, even his words, are not defeated by Lord Nrsimhadeva keeping the benediction that Lord Brahma gave to Hiranyakashipu intact. Okay, now I have a second question. Why did Lord Nrsimhadeva repeatedly protect Prahlad from all the torture and attempts at his life, on his life? Because I mentioned at the beginning that it's not true that the asuras never win. We have the demons and the demigods constantly in conflict. Sometimes the demigods win, sometimes the demigods are defeated. So why today did Lord Nrsimhadeva protect Prahlad from all the attempts to kill him? Yes, Name Bhakta Pranashyati, my devotee will never be killed by an enemy, but a deeper understanding with that, why? Anybody? The reason is, as we mentioned earlier, that when the demigods came to kidnap Kayadu, Prahlad's mother, while she was pregnant with Prahlad, they came to kidnap her because they thought that's a demon in her womb. We want to kill that baby. As they were dragging her away, they bumped into Narada Muni. Narada Muni said, no, that's a saint inside her womb. I'll take her to my ashram and protect her until her husband comes back from his austerities. And while she was in the ashram of Narada Muni, she expressed anxiety about the protection of her child. And Narada said, my dear mother, I promise you that your child will never be defeated by an enemy. So that's a second illustration in this Leela of Name Bhakta Pranashyati, of the Lord keeping the word of his pure devotee, in this case, Narada Muni, keeping that the word of his pure devotee intact. Third question, third and final question. Why did the Lord appear from a pillar? You know, that pillar. I mean, why didn't he just appear from, okay, he didn't want to appear indoors or outdoors, on the land, on the water, this and that. He was in the threshold, it was dusk, you know, but why did he appear from the pillar at the threshold? Why didn't he appear, you know, you can imagine there was like a flower pot there with some flowers, and maybe there was a little statue there. You know, why didn't he appear from some other object in the threshold? Why did he appear from the pillar specifically?
I can make an
Anybody?
attempt.
Okay.
Because what I have heard is he asked Prahlad, is your Lord in this pillar? And he said, yes, the Lord is everywhere, even in this pillar. So I'm tracing the questions that you have been asking. I'm thinking like he wants to now protect Prahlad's words by coming out of the pillar and showing that actually exists.
Exactly. So this is the third example that so our point is that the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev is a Leela which fully highlights and exemplifies the Lord's statement in Bhagavad Gita that nan me bhakta pranashyati, my devotee never perishes. In three ways, he kept Lord Brahma's benediction to Hiranyakashipu intact, so that Lord Brahma wasn't, you know, come across as a liar or something. He kept the word of Narada Muni intact when Narada Muni promised Kayadu that your child will never be defeated by an enemy. And he kept the statement of little innocent Prahlad that, yeah, my Lord is in the pillar, because Prahlad actually did see the Lord in the pillar. He wasn't just saying that like you and I say that, oh yeah, God is everywhere, he's in every atom, but we don't really see that. Prahlad actually saw the form of the Lord in the pillar. So Lord Nrsimhadev appeared from the pillar because that's where his devotee said he was. So in this way, the pure devotees of the Lord really endear the Lord. And this Leela of the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev is the Leela that very much highlights and exemplifies the characteristic of Krishna, which is that he is Bhakta Vatsala. He has nothing to do. How boring is that if you have nothing to do? So the Lord has nothing to do except one thing, and that is to please his devotee, to reciprocate with his devotee. So, Nrsimha Chaturdasi ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. So now we'll take a few minutes. If anybody has anything they want to ask or comment, we can open it up to discussion. You just simply have to unmute yourself if you would like to say anything.
Thank you so much, Danakeli Mataji. I do have a burning question, like especially with this coronavirus spreading around and many people dying from this pandemic. So I receive this question very often from people around me, my friends. They say like, oh, what is the reason for this coronavirus? And also they ask, Krishna says that, you know, he protects his devotees, then why are devotees dying? How are we to understand like so many people dying around?
Mm-hmm. So you think that just because you're a devotee, you're never going to die? I don't really understand what all the big hype is. Why are we amazed or bewildered that 10 or 20 devotees die from a virus? How many devotees a year die of a heart attack? How many devotees a year die from auto accident? How many devotees a year die from cancer? How many devotees a year die from old age? Why are we asking this question? The question is illegitimate. The question comes from some level of ignorance. Firstly, everybody's going to die. One time, somebody said to Srila Prabhupada, why is the death rate so high in India? And Prabhupada said, the death rate is the same everywhere, 100%. Isn't it? Name one person. You don't have to name 10 people, 100. Name one person on planet Earth, past, present, and future, that is not going to die. Can you name one? Come on, name one. You can't even name one. Everybody dies. According to their karma, some of us will live 30 years, some of us will live 50 years, some of us will live 75 years, some of us will live 100 years. Some of us will have a violent death in a car accident or a house fire or a murder. Some of us will have a quote unquote peaceful death. Some of us will die very, very, very slowly with 3 years fight with cancer. Some of us will die very quickly by an instant heart attack and death. Some of us will die when we have grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Some of us will die before we even graduate from high school. Why are we asking this question? Everybody dies. According to our karma, we have so many breaths to breathe. But what does it matter if it's a virus that kills us or cancer or a bullet shot? Where in Bhagavad Gita or any scripture does it say that my devotee never gets sick? You know, have you ever gotten sick? Did you ever break a bone, have an injury? I know. I personally know several devotees I know many devotees who have really suffered with cancer for years and ultimately left their bodies. Some haven't left their bodies, but are really suffering with cancer. Why aren't we asking that question? Oh, why devotees have cancer? The question reveals that we don't understand this material world. Martya Loka. This world is nothing but the world of death. From the moment you take birth, you're dying. Oh, look at my 3-month-old baby. Oh, you have a 3-month-old baby. Isn't he or she super cute? Oh, we're celebrating today. My baby turned 1 year old. What? Actually, your baby is 1 year dead. When they took birth, the moment you take birth, that's the furthest from death that you are. And at every tick of the clock, you get closer to death. So we celebrate, oh, my child's turned 3 years old. That means he's already expired 3 years. Everybody dies, 100% death rate. What does it matter how you die? Actually, we all die of the exact same cause. You know what the cause of death is? They'll put on your certificate, oh, this person died of cancer, or died of a heart attack, or a bullet wound. Actually, we all die of the exact same thing. You know what that is? Suffocation. When you take your last breath, you suffocate. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced suffocation. I have. I haven't had this in a long, long time, but I don't know why. I used to wake up in the middle of the night gasping for breath, as though somebody was holding a pillow over my head and I couldn't breathe. I would wake up and jump up, like I was being suffocated. It hasn't happened in a long, long time, but it used to happen periodically. And let me tell you, it is very scary that you're trying to take a breath and you can't take a breath. Like people who drown, they suffocate. Everybody who dies suffocates because everybody takes their last breath. So Name Bhakta Pranashyati means my devotee will be protected from losing their Krishna consciousness, even at death, whether they're on life support machines or they're in a coma or they get some really tragic, horrible accident, violent death, or a long drawn out suffering, or they get Alzheimer's disease or something. Name Bhakta Pranashyati. My devotee will not be defeated by Maya. They will keep the Krishna consciousness that they cultivated in this lifetime. That will never be lost.
Thank you so much.
Okay, anything?
Yeah. For a beautiful class and a very insightful question and answer. Yeah. And if they ask us about why this coronavirus, can we say it's the collective karma of the people? Something.
Definitely. That's all it is. Why don't we ask why the cyclone, why the hurricane, why the world war, why the mass murders, why the natural disasters? It's all the same thing. Now, if there's nothing but karma, it's just karma. Have you heard of Kali Yuga? Yeah, folks, we're in Kali Yuga. You know what that means? Why are we in Kali Yuga? Why did you take birth in Kali Yuga? Why did I take birth in Kali Yuga? Because we have a lot of bad karma. We were bad boys and girls to take birth in Kali Yuga. We didn't graduate. I meet you and you tell me that you're in college. You're a sophomore in college. And then I meet you 10 years later and you still tell me that you're in college. What does that tell me? That tells me that you are a flunky. That for, 10 years, you're still working on your bachelor's degree. What's wrong with you? Graduate. Get out of there. So why are you and I living in Kali Yuga? Because we're flunkies. We didn't graduate out of the cycle of birth and death. We had ample opportunity in Satya Yuga. We had ample opportunity in Treta Yuga. We had ample opportunity in Dwapara Yuga. And we're still, flunkies. And we're still here. We didn't graduate. So Kali Yuga is where we get beaten by the three kleshas: Adi Atmika Klesha, Adi Bhautika Klesha, Adi Daivika Klesha. The miseries that arise from our own body and mind, the miseries that arise from other beings, creatures, and the miseries that arise from nature. Illnesses, war, famines, natural disasters, weird diseases, everything is just, we're getting bombed from every direction. And still, despite all of that, oh, I can find happiness in this world. I can put a little comfort zone around myself. What is it going to take? How much do you, like an intelligent person, you can just appeal to their intelligence with reasonable arguments. But a less intelligent person, you have to threaten them or bribe them. And an even less intelligent person, you have to beat them like you would an animal. An animal, there's no way you can teach them anything. You have to beat them with a stick to train them. So we're like that. Jadadiya, we have the intelligence dull like an animal. That Durga Devi's there with her three-pronged trident. Adi Daivika Klesha, Adi Bautika Klesha, and Adi Atmika Klesha. Poking us and poking us and poking us. And we still, like that stupid animal, are happy if we can get a little food and shelter and sex life and I'm okay, you're okay. And we won't take up the mood of Prahlad that I just want to surrender to the Lord. I feel sorry for, he says, I am filled with concern for those fools and rascals who are chasing after comfort, security, and happiness in this material world, maintaining their families, societies, and countries. So we're not meant to be fools and rascals. But if we have to be beaten with a stick in order to get out of that silly position, then we have to be beaten with a stick. If you don't want to be beaten with a stick, then learn the lesson like an intelligent person would learn the lesson, that simply by hearing that I should harbor no silly thoughts of finding security in this world. This place is nothing but the land of suffering. If you jump into the ocean, you can't be marveling at how everywhere you turn in the ocean, it's wet. Of course it's wet. That's the definition of the ocean, silly. So we cannot marvel at how at every moment there's some big klesha coming our way, individually and collectively. That's the nature of the material world in Kali Yuga, or in all yugas, but it's very pronounced, loud and clear for those of us who are too dull to see it. It's made very loud and clear. Therefore, Prahlad prayed, if you at all want to offer me a beneficial benediction, my Lord, I pray that within the core of my heart, there be no material desires. It's only because of material desires hiding in the deep recesses of our heart, or even on the very forefront of our heart. It is only because we harbor material desires in our heart that we have fear of death, fear of, karmic retribution. We're bewildered by why the world is like this and why it's like that. There's nothing to be bewildered about. It's material desires which falsely make us feel that this world should be all cozy and nice. No, Prahlad said, I do not fear material existence. Not because material existence is so warm and soft and fuzzy. I don't fear material existence, even though it's thorny and ugly and smelly and dangerous. But I don't fear material existence, nor am I bewildered by it. Why? Because no matter where I am, no matter what the situation is, I'm just absorbed in meditating on your glories and activities. So I'm in the world, but not of it. We talk about the world because we're actually in it and of it. But a pure devotee doesn't meditate on the material world. There's no headline news for the pure devotee. The materialist is absorbed in headline news. What's the new drama today? But for the pure devotee, it has no substance. Like Prahlad, he's just totally absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So he doesn't even fear material existence. He's not bewildered by it. He's not distracted by it. Those distractions are because we're not attracted. See, distraction, attraction, right? Disattraction. When you're distracted by, oh, that sound over there, or, some bomb just went off over there. Oh, I got distracted. It's because you're disattracted to the real thing, Krishna. So the more we become attracted to Krishna, we become so attracted to Krishna that we cannot be disattracted from Krishna. How can we be disattracted from that which we are madly attracted to? Try to disattract a child from their computer game when it's time to, come on, we got to go now. Come on, time to go. Put that stupid computer down. It's time to go. Stop it. Put that game down. It's time to go. You can't disattract the child from the computer game because they're so attracted to the computer game. So we are disattracted by so many things, and that's the whole purpose of the material world, to try to disattract you. Actually, the purpose of the material world is to facilitate our attraction to Krishna. But for those of us who are rebellious, the second feature of the material world is that it disattracts those who aren't single-pointedly, tivrena bhakti yogena, single-pointedly engaged in pure bhakti. So that was Prahlad's, again, chapter 9 is just filled with all the 50 plus verses are Prahlad's beautiful words, and every single prayer by Prahlad can be dissected because every single prayer really reveals what it would be like to be a pure devotee. Like, boy, I wish I could be like that. And if we practice reciting those prayers or reading those prayers, meditating on those prayers, we'll become pure devotees. You keep reading Canto 7, Chapter 9, Chapter 10, text 7, 7:10:7, that my dear Lord, I pray that within the core of my heart there be no material desires. Then you say it again. My dear Lord, I pray that in the core of my heart there be no material desires. Then you say it again. My dear Lord, I pray that in the core of my heart there be no material desires. You keep saying that over and over and over again. Guess what's going to happen? Even though you didn't say it with real feeling, maybe, but guess what's going to happen? Super Soul's hearing you say that, so he's going to reciprocate. And what's he going to do? He's going to make sure that within the core of your heart, there's no material desires. So please study the prayers of Prahlad. This is why Lord Nrsimhadeva appeared, to spotlight Prahlad. We would not have 7th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam, prayers by Prahlad Maharaj if it wasn't for Nrsimhadeva appearing. We wouldn't have the example of Prahlad Maharaj, of a pure devotee, if it wasn't for Lord Nrsimhadeva appearing. That's the real reason he appears, to show off his devotees. That's why he appeared in Vrindavan, Vraj Krishna, to show off his Vraj Bhaktas. Just see the bhakti of the Vraj Bhaktas. It's all about showing off his devotees. Okay, thank you, Leela Manjari. Anything else?
Anyone on the call? Would you like to share anything, say anything? Do you have any questions? Thank you for being here.
Otherwise, silence means that we all agree. Silence means that we've agreed with what we've heard.
Yes,
and we're going to put it in practice.
Yes, we agree. My dear Lord, may there be no material desires in my heart.
Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Jai Nrsimhadeva. So if there's nothing else, we'll stop there.
Yeah.
I'm here at New Talavan Farm, and they just got to the point where they're about to serve out the feast. So I'll make sure I don't miss that.
Thank you very, very much.
To share some Nrsimha Katha with you.
Yes, very, very beautiful. Very, it really woke me up. I'm grateful to you. Thank you so much. And also thank you for the participants who are here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nrsimhadev Bhagwan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.